Go, Knights, go! 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 Welcome to a very special edition of Knights This Week with your host and superfan Jason Banks coming at you here. And this is a very special Knights This Week because we are getting primed for the playoffs tonight on this Knights This Week. And yes, for those who are watching, I may have not done a last weekend regular season video on the Knights yet. That's coming this weekend. But the playoffs start tomorrow, so I want to get you primed for the playoffs here as the London Knights start their playoffs on Friday night here at Budweiser Gardens. And this is going to be how I look for the playoffs now. I got my crazy green hair wig. So this is how it's going to be for the playoffs now as we do the Knights. As we follow them and see how far they go this year. And here is, I should put this just like this. And there you go. I should put it like this as I do my video. Here's my Knights mug, so it goes well. And I'm wearing my 2016 Memorial Cup champion shirt as we begin the defense of our Memorial Cup throne. So, here we go. Go Knights, go defend the throne. That has been their motto all season long. So, you get these at Budweiser Gardens for the playoffs. Playoff noisemakers, that's what they are. So, you might hear a few of these during the videos. So, anyway, welcome to Knights This Week with your host and superfan Jason Banks coming at you. Let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's get to this very special Knights This Week. First and foremost, I want to show you the final standings here. And it's very hard to see that, I guess. It's not very big. But let's take a look at this and see where teams finished here in the standings. So in the West, let's start with the West since that's where the Knights play. At the top for a second straight year, you can see the Erie Otters were the regular season champions of the entire hockey league. They won 50 games, the only team in the league to win 50 games. And you know what? You may not like the Erie Otters as a Knights fan because they've become a big rival, but give Erie props because Erie has now gotten 4 straight 50-win seasons. That's not even an accomplishment that the London Knights have ever pulled off, and despite all their great years, but the Erie Otters have done it. The first team ever in history to win 50 straight games 4 years in a row. So credit to you, Erie. You have put together a very solid team, very well run, very well coached, and you can't say anything bad about them after all the terrible years they had. So that is history right there. So they had 50 wins, 15 losses, 2 overtime losses, 1 shootout loss for 103 points. So Erie did pretty good. Just 2 points short of last year's total. They had 105 last year, the Erie Otters. Sioux Greyhounds, they were like 7th last year in the conference. They've come all the way up to 2nd this year with a very solid 100-point season, 48-16, 3-1. And then the Owen Sound Attack come right up to the 3rd spot, finished 3rd in the Western Conference with 102 points. 102. They were only 1 point behind the Erie Otters. And again, if you want to give props and give credit to a well-run franchise this year, give that to Owen Sound as well. They have done very well this year, very well coached, very well run, and that team is buying into the systems for sure. 49-15, 2-2 for 102 points. That's pretty darn good. And then last year they were 6th. And they had 75 points, I think. 75 or 77. So they jumped up quite a bit this year, too. So props to you, Owen Sound. And there you have the London Knights, the defending Memorial Cup champions. They finished 4th in the conference with a total of 46, 15, 3, and 4 for 99 points. Just missed out on 100 points by 1 point. But still a solid season for the guys in green, no doubt. Not in a very good, favorable spot for the playoffs. 4th spot is not a good spot. It's usually the Bermuda Triangle, they would say, of hockey, because it's not very often you can come out of 4th spot and win it. But that's where the London Knights are, and that is where their fate is. Windsor is 41, 19, 5, and 3 with 90 points, so they finished 5th. And then I'm not going to go over all the numbers, but there's the rest of them rounding out. Kitchener with 77, Flint with 72, Sarnia with 69, finishing 8th in the conference. Saginaw finishing with 63 points. And then Guelph, for the 2nd straight year, in the bottom of the cellar with 49 points. Although they did improve on their season from last year. I think they got about 7 or 8 more wins than they did last year. So they're on the rise. Give them a year or two. They'll be back in the mix. Now let's take a look at the goals for and against. And Erie mopped up in that department too and goes for 319 goes for. So they led the league in that. They got a lot of guys who can put the puck in the net. Owen Sound scored 297, so they're not far behind those Erie Otters, and that's why they're 1 and 2 in the standings. London did respectable. They got 289 goals, and then Sioux and Windsor kind of trail off behind them. It's interesting that Windsor has 232 goals for, quite a bit behind the London Knights goals for. Goals against, Owen Sound right up there at the top with 177. Erie right behind with 182. All right, so that's all I'm going to say on that front. Let's take a look at the East. Okay, the East. Let's take a look at where they finished up there. And in the East, the Peterborough Petes had a very, very good season. They have not had very many good seasons in the last few years, but they have put together a very good season this year. Finished atop of the standings with 42, 21, 2, and 3 record, 89 points. Right behind them is the Mississauga Steelheads. They finished with a record of 34, 21, 6, and 7 for 81 points. And you might want to... Mississauga started the season horribly. They were not very good. So they did very good to get up to that. And they are playing like a very good team right now. I think you want to look out for those guys. Down here, I noticed I did write they scored the most goals in the league. Gave up, 240 goals for in the conference. And they only gave up 219. So that's pretty good for the Mississauga Steelheads. Oshawa finished 3rd. Oshawa still did pretty good. 40, 23, 3, and 2 for 85 points. Kingston finished 4th with 75 points. Hamilton right behind them. And good on the Hamilton Bulldogs. They make the playoffs after a poor first season in Hamilton last year. So good season from them, 74 points. Sudbury back in the playoffs again. And it's been about 4 or 5 years, probably 4 years that they've been in the playoffs. They finally get back in with 61 points. The Western Conference, that would not be a very good showing, but in the Eastern Conference, that gets you into the playoffs. And then Ottawa with 60 points in the 7th spot. In Niagara, the Ice Dogs, who were supposed to be in a rebuilding year this year, and they are, but they still got squeaking into the playoffs with 56 points. Now, 2 teams that are pretty good, usually pretty steady, consistent playoff teams in the East did not make it this year. North Bay finished with 54 points, and then the Barrie Colts with the worst record in the OHL, 17, 44, 6, and 1 for 41 points. So, Barrie having a pretty poor season this year. Barrie's usually a very good team. right in the mix, but not this year. But hey, you know, we all got to go through it, right? And one of these years, it's going to be us. It really will be. One of these years, the London Knights are going to be in a non-playoff spot, I'm sure. But let's not get there yet. Let's hope they keep producing the talent they do, that they usually do year in, year out. So there's the standings for you. Just wanted to let you know of that. So that will prepare you now for my predictions, okay? So now I'm going to give you my playoff predictions. I'm going to look into my crystal ball and try to give you the playoff predictions here on Knights This Week. Playoffs start tomorrow night with 3 games. London Knights start their playoffs Friday night here at Budweiser Gardens against the Windsor Spitfires. So let's start out in the East, shall we? Oh no, I got my diagram here. Let's start out in the West. Okay, so the Erie Otters are playing the Sarnia Sting in the first round, and I think Erie will win this series. It should be a no-brainer, but give Sarnia a game in this series, because I think Sarnia definitely, Sarnia was only one of 2 teams to beat Erie in regulation on home ice. They were the first team to beat them all season on regulation on their ice. So Erie's got a confidence about them, and Erie definitely, I don't think would be Sarnia would not be afraid of Erie. And Sarnia has a pretty good goaltender too, Justin Fazio. He could steal a game. That's why I say Erie in 5. So Justin Fazio will steal a game for the Sarnia Sting. Then we go to Sioux and Flint. So the Sioux Greyhounds playing the Flint Firebirds. Flint Firebirds making their first ever playoff appearance as the Flint Firebirds. It used to be the Plymouth Whalers. And I'm going with an upset special on this one. Upset special. The Flint Firebirds, I think, will take out the Sioux Greyhounds in 7 games. And I say that because they did split their regular season series at 3 each. So they definitely are capable of beating them. And Flint's got a very hard-working team. Well-coached. And they get a lot of other players. So I think Flint has the possibility to upset in this one, and I think they are going to upset the Sioux Greyhounds in 7. And it's interesting that second versus 7th matchup is very prone to upsets over the last few years. It happened last year. Sarnia Sting were 2nd, the Sioux Greyhounds were 7th, and Sioux upset them. So I'm going with that in this series. Flint will upset Sioux in 7. Owen Sound plays Kitchener, the 3-6 matchup. And you know what? This is going to be lights out. I don't see Kitchener having a chance in this series whatsoever. I don't think the games are going to be close. I think Owen Sound's going to blow them out. Going to be 4 straight for the Owen Sound attack. And then I'm going to leave the last series for last. Series with our London Knights in it, where I'll get to that at the end. Okay, let's go over to the East now. And in the East, Pete's are playing the Niagara Ice Dogs, who made it to the finals last year, of course, and played the London Knights. But this year, very much a rebuilding year for Niagara, and they still made the playoffs. But the Pete's are just too good for Niagara, I think. If you look at the point difference, quite a huge point difference. Like over a 30-point difference between the 2 teams in the standings. And I just don't think Niagara has a hope in this series. I don't think they can win a game. Pete in 4. Mississauga taking on Ottawa. Mississauga Steelheads, actually, they have been like Owen Sound out west in the second half. They have not lost many games to Steelheads. I think they've only lost 3 games or something in the second half. They are a very good team, the Steelheads. I think Ottawa, though, is plucky enough, and Ottawa has definitely got plucky enough to pluck away and get a win in this series, but no more. Mississauga takes the series in 5. Ottawa and Sudbury, upset special coming at you again. I think Sudbury has the possibility to upset Oshawa. And I say that because Oshawa was beat by Ottawa last week. So Oshawa can be beat by the lower teams. And you know what? Sudbury has some good overagers on it too. Some good veteran experience, including two from last year's London Knights team, CJ Yakimovich and Aiden Jamieson. So I think they're capable of winning a series, and I think they are going to do that. I think they'll beat the Oshawa Generals in 7. Okay, and then the fourth 4-5 matchup out there is Kingston versus Hamilton. Now, this is kind of a pick 'em toss 'em kind of series, I think. But you know what? I like the Hamilton Bulldogs to win this series because I like their scoring ability. Like the Hamilton Bulldogs scored 238 goals this year, which was third in the conference behind Mississauga and Peterborough. So they can score goals. Mind you, Kingston gave up the fewest, 200 goals against. But I think Hamilton's forwards will come forward in this series, and they will knock off Kingston in 6. Now moving on past that, Pete's will play Sudbury. Mississauga will play Hamilton out of those series. And the Pete's and Mississauga are the best teams in this conference, and they're both win those series. So I think the Eastern Conference Final is going to be the Pete's versus Mississauga. And then Mississauga is going to get to the finals this year. Mississauga will beat the Pete's in a very close Eastern Conference Final and make it to the OHL Final on that side. Okay, now let's get you set up here. I got something special to show you. Just hang on here, folks. I got to get it queued up, but it's coming. So just let me bring it up for you. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be really awesome. Okay, so here we go. Okay, I hope that you loved that. That is a nice introduction video. So, courtesy of Rogers on that one. Thank you, Rogers. So anyway, that is to get you set up here now for the London Knights and what I think is going to happen with them. So London Knights are taking on Windsor in the first round of the playoffs. And what an intriguing matchup this is, folks, because London won the Memorial Cup last year, of course. And this year, in the first round of the playoffs, are playing this year's Memorial Cup host, the Windsor Spitfires. Now, this is the first time in history this has ever happened that the team from last year has met the Memorial Cup hosts in the first round of the playoffs. So one of these teams is going to be going home after the first round. Which one will it be? And it's interesting, too, because it's kind of two similar teams. They've been both kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team all year long. I know the Windsor fans haven't been very happy with the consistency of their team and where they finished in the standings. They expected much more out of their team being in a Memorial Cup hosting year. And, the London Knights, have struggled with consistency as well. Even in a game, sometimes they're struggling with putting together a full 60 minutes. So this is going to be a very intriguing matchup. Now, these two teams haven't met for a bit. The last time they met was the year that the London Knights hosted the Memorial Cup in 2014. First round of the playoffs, the Knights swept that and then got beat out in the second round of the playoffs that year. What else do I need to say about this? Windsor has not won a playoff series against the Knights since 2009, and that was the year that Windsor went on to win their first Memorial Cup. And as you recall, that might have been, you may recall that was the year that all games in that conference final went to overtime. It was one heck of a series, but Windsor won it in 5. Last two times they've met in the playoffs, London has swept the series. Okay, so that's a little bit of background on those two teams. It's going to be a very, very intriguing series. And this is what I think will happen in this series. I think the London Knights will take this series in 6 games. And I'm saying that because of last year's Memorial Cup experience. And there's still a ton of guys on that team that were on the team last year. And I think that's going to be a factor. Knights do have home ice in this series, and home ice meant everything in the regular season in this series because the home team won every single game in this series. Not to say a road team isn't capable of winning a home game on the road in this series, but in the regular season, that's how it did go. And I also would go with the Knights with Tyler Parsons in that. I think Tyler Parsons is the man, and this is his cup of tea. This is what he loves, the playoffs. He's comfortable with it. He knows what to do. And I think that's going to be a factor. So I think the Knights will win in 6. And they're going to send Windsor away for a very long break before the Memorial Cup starts. That's how I think it's going to go in this round anyway. London will take it in 6 games. So we'll see what happens. Kind of a bad start to the series because the London Knights doesn't appear like they have Sam Miletich in their lineup. He got called for a slew foot in the Sault Ste. Marie last regular season game. And you know something? It wasn't really a slew foot because if you look at the video replay, I don't know how they call it a slew foot because he just skated by the goaltender. The goaltender kind of had his legs sticking out and Sam Miletich hit into it. Called it a slew foot. Should have been a tripping penalty. No, it was a slew foot. And so that's an automatic 2-game suspension. And from what I've heard so far today, it has not been taken back by the league. So, really sucks, but I think the Knights will be minus Sam Miletich for the first 2 games. Possibly Mitchell Stevens, too. Mitchell Stevens got hit hard in the second last game of the regular season by Flint. He did not play in the Sunday games, so they're saying his status is up in the air. So those are 2 very vital cogs on this London Knight team to be missing to start this series. However, I still don't change my prediction. It will be the Knights in 6. Let's move on now, shall we? and show you how I think the rest of the playoffs are going to go out west. So I told you already the other series. So Erie would take on Flint in the second round. Flint may beat Sioux, but they're not going to beat Erie. Erie will win that. And if the London Knights get past Windsor, they will play the Owen Sound Attack in round 2. And just like Flint, I don't think London's going to beat Owen Sound in a 7-game series this year. They are just too good, Owen Sound, especially with that goaltending. They got it all, I think. They got the depth scoring, they got the goaltending, and they got the defense, too. So Owen Sound would win that. Would make a Erie-Owen Sound conference final. And I think Owen Sound, yes, Erie should win this year because it's their last kind of kick at the can, probably, with all the guys that are leaving the team. But sorry, Erie, I just think Owen Sound's got a thing going this year. I think Owen Sound will win that. It will be a very close series, but they'll take it. And so Owen Sound will play Mississauga in the final. It's going to be a rematch of the 2011 OHL final. Those two teams met then. And I think Owen Sound will beat Mississauga in 5 games in the OHL final to book their ticket to Windsor to play in the Memorial Cup. So that's how I see things going down in the playoffs. That is your playoff predictions, so to speak. So Mississauga and Owen Sound in the final, with Owen Sound winning in 5 games. London will get to the second round, but I want to see them go further, but I don't think they're going to go further than the second round this year. Stranger things have happened, and of course, they could. I think there's 4 very good teams at the top, and all of them are capable of winning. But London just hasn't shown that edge yet. I think they're in tough in second round. So that's how I see it. So that is Knights this week. Playoff predictions. Playoff primer coming at you to get ready for the playoffs. I hope you've enjoyed this show, and I've tried to make it awesome for you. Now, what I'm going to do, like I do at the end of every Knights this week, is I'm gonna take you out on a Knights dance. So, I'm going to do that for you. Let me bring up the Knights song for you. And then, that's what I'm going to do. So, here we go, folks. Go Knights, go! Defend the throne! And we're going to see you next week on Knights This Week. Until then, take care, and we'll see you on the flip side.